Hey, what's up guys? So, the long-awaited update for Bluetooth support for the Uniden R4 and R8 is now here.
34, 6, 7.
And in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a closer look here at this new update for both detectors, as well as getting started here with the Bluetooth capability. For the R4, this is going to be firmware version 1.27, and for the R8, it's going to be firmware version 1.26. And all the new features that we're going to be talking about here are going to be applicable to both detectors. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the new features that are available here now that Bluetooth has been activated. Now, a quick note, there's currently only one app that's available that can interface here with the Uniden detectors, and that's Highway Radar, which is an Android-only app. And so all this Bluetooth stuff, it's not currently available for iPhone users, it's only for Android users. And so in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look here at Highway Radar specifically, as well as things like how to update your detector, because there are some weird quirks here that I've noticed and some issues, particularly with the R8. I'm going to walk you guys through the actual pairing process to get up and running here with the Bluetooth. And then, of course, we'll take a look at some of the cool new features that we've got here. Now, down in the video description, there's going to be a lot of additional links for you guys. Things like where you can download the new firmware versions, where you can download the app, the Highway Radar book, which is going to be a good reference and tutorial to get started, the discussion area on the forums in case you run into any issues with updating or using the new Bluetooth capabilities, as well as links to where you can purchase these detectors. And so with that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look here at all the new features that are now available, including the Bluetooth capability and what these new features can offer us. Alrighty, so first things first, these new firmware updates bring us three primary changes. Number one, we've got Bluetooth support, of course. Number two, we now have support for Uniden's upcoming but not yet released laser jammers. And number three, we've also got a new option if you guys use the K-band bogey tone. Now, the Bluetooth capability, if you scroll to the end of the menu, you're going to see two new options here. You've got Bluetooth, which you can turn on and off. We're going to want to have it turned on, of course. And then you're also going to have the ability to pair the detector with your phone, which I'll walk you guys through here in just a minute. And then the second new change is support for Uniden's upcoming laser jammers, or what they call the laser transponders. And if you have this feature turned on, you've got a couple different options to control kind of the laser jamming, how it works, how it shuts off. I'm going to have more information about this over on the setup guide on my website if you'd like to reference that. And then once you've got the laser jammers installed in your car, there's new options here that allow you to configure each of the individual heads. The system is going to support up to 6 heads total, so you can see transponder 4, 5, and 6. And we can also tell it if these heads are installed in the front or in the rear of the vehicle. And then also, if we encounter the Dragon Eye, we can actually set up each individual head to either receive or to transmit against the Dragon Eye. And then once the laser jammers actually launch and are available for sale, we can go into more information then regarding configuration and setup and some of these details. But basically now we have some additional controls here for the laser jammers themselves. Additionally, for those of you guys who use the K-band bogey tone option, there's now a new option that's available here where you can set the volume level of that K-band bogey tone, independent from the detector's main volume level. However, if you turn this feature off, the K-band bogey tone level option is going to disappear. So again, that's only going to show up when you have the K-band bogey tone turned on. So generally with these updates, you're just going to want to grab your detector, plug it into your computer, and then run Uniden's update software like this. Unfortunately, though, I am seeing some issues where it's not able to properly find the current firmware, and if you try to go ahead and start the update process like this, it's going to try to grab the new firmware, but unfortunately, it's going to error out for you like this. So let me show you how to actually work around this. So you'll want to go ahead and pull up your browser and head on over here to Uniden's support page. I'll drop a link to this in the video description. I'm noticing right now they're having some issue where there's a 404 error on their site. I'm not entirely sure why, but part of it is broken. But there's two ways to do it. Number one, you can either go here to the radar detector section, and then we're going to scroll down and click on the firmware option. When we do this, you're going to see there's two new firmwares that are available. One for the R8, firmware version 1.26, and there's going to be another one here for the R4, firmware version 1.27. And you can just click on these right here to download, and then you can grab either one, and it'll just head on over to your downloads folder. Now, the other way to do it is if you scroll up here to download specifically, then you can punch in your model number here, like R8, for example, and it's going to go ahead and give you the latest firmware version that's available, 1.26. You can click here to download it, and there's also older firmware versions if you like them too, as well as the GPS database and the Uniden update software. Now, there is a new version of the update software that, for whatever reason, at the time I'm shooting this video, it's not posted on Uniden's website. I'm not sure when it's going to be available. I'll use it to actually demo kind of the update process and some of the features because it is going to add support for some of the new features that have been added to the detector. But I'll go into a little bit more detail about that kind of old versus new software once we get that loaded up. Anyways, once you've got the firmware update files downloaded to your computer, you can go ahead and unzip them. We'll do the R4 update file right here. It's going to throw this error. We'll just hit OK. We're not worried about that. Same thing here with the R8. We'll go ahead and extract that as well. Same error. Don't need that either. So we'll just hit OK. Then we're going to head back over here to the Uniden update software. And again, remember how we're not able to do the automatic update process, which is why we're having to manually download these files in the first place. We're going to go over here to download files, and then we're going to go ahead and manually open the update file. I'm going to go over to downloads, which is where it downloaded here on my computer, and I'm going to select the R8 file. So open that. And I'm going to get this error here, invalid file. Now, this kind of stumped me at first. A big shout out to the guys on RDF who helped me figure out what was going on and how to fix this. But basically, if you take a look at the two update files here, this is the one for the R8, this is the one for the R4. If you notice the file extension, it's lowercase here for .bin for the R4, but it's capitalized here for the R8. And so for that reason, you're going to want to go back over here and change it to lowercase. It seems like this update software is case sensitive for whatever reason. So once you do that, then you go back in here and open. I'm going to select that, hit open, and now it's going to be able to load it properly. And then we'll hit start download, and it's going to go ahead and start updating the detector for you. This issue seems to be primarily with the R8 because the file that it downloads has the capital .bin. With the R4, you're not going to have to worry about the capitalization thing because it already comes kind of lowercase like that. So again, just a weird thing. If you guys run into any issues, head to the forums. It's where we're all kind of figuring out this stuff together. But anyway, we'll head back over here and just let it finish real quick. Now that it's done, update completed, we'll hit OK, go back over here, and it should now go ahead and tell us that, yep, we've got 1.26 loaded into our R8. Awesome. Now, next thing I wanted to point out, if we go over here into the user settings, once you've got the detector updated, there should be new options here to let you control things like Bluetooth, for example, as well as if you go into the band settings. If we scroll down here, you can see we've got the new options here for the laser transponder. We're going to be able to adjust all of this kind of stuff. And then the same thing if we go over here to sound, there's the new option here for the K-band Bogey Level. However, this is only going to appear once you have the new version of Uniden's update software. I'm currently running 2.11 here. It's not yet available publicly. And if we head back over to Uniden's website again real quick, you'll notice the latest version that they have posted is 2.08, not 2.11. And if you're running 2.08, that's totally fine. You're still going to be able to update the detector. The only difference is when you go over into the user setting options, the new options here, like Bluetooth, are simply not going to show up, but all the previous options that were available, these ones are still going to show up. So just a quick note about that. Yeah, you're not going to see the new options here until you're actually able to download the new update software. Alrighty, now that we've got our detectors updated, we can go ahead and hop back here in the car and start getting our detectors paired with our phone. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is only going to work here on Android, and the reason I say that is there's only one app that's available, and it's Highway Radar. Uniden, for whatever reason, has chosen not to make an app to interface with the detector to change settings or update the firmware or any of that kind of stuff, and they've basically just opened up an API and said, well, anybody who wants to make an app to interface with our detector, you can do that. And currently the only app that's available is Highway Radar. And so that's the one that we're going to be using here to pair with the detector and kind of get up and running. This video isn't intended to be like a tutorial of everything you need to know regarding Highway Radar. For more detail about Highway Radar specifically, there's actually an entire book that's written that kind of goes over all the different settings and walks you through all the stuff that we're going to cover here in this video. And so if you have any questions or need help with anything, I'm going to link to that book down in the video description, or you can head on over to the forums where we're all discussing this stuff together, and you can also find the developer of Highway Radar, Farius. He's available on the forums too. And so those are going to be some good resources to kind of take you beyond what we cover here in this video. Now, the first thing to do, of course, is if you've got Bluetooth turned off, you're going to want to make sure that it's turned on. And then we're going to head on over here to the Bluetooth pairing option. We'll hit the menu button, and that's going to go ahead and start the pairing process here. Now, before we actually run the app, we're going to have to pair the detector with our phone. To do that, we're going to go here into the settings page. Then we'll go over here to connections, and then we're going to tap over here on Bluetooth. And then the phone is going to start searching for our detector. We're going to see it right there. So R838 matches what we see here on the display. So I'm just going to tap that, and it's going to go ahead and start pairing the phone with the detector. So we'll say pair. It says success over there. And now we can go ahead and pull up Highway Radar and start connecting. And you'll also see a little blue icon right there with the letter B, letting us know that we're connected here over Bluetooth. Then we're going to go over here and launch Highway Radar. And then I'm going to go over here to settings. And then we're going to go down here to radar detector integration. Tap on that. We're going to choose which detector we want to pair with. And then you can see we've got R4 and R8. I'm going to select R8. Okay. And then now we're going to go R8 connection manager. we're going to scan for a detector, and we're going to go ahead and have it look for the detector and hopefully find it. I have found in many instances playing with this, sometimes it's not going to be able to find the detector. If that happens, as it says here, you can try power cycling the detector. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick, because yeah, usually this doesn't work on the first try. And then after a few seconds, it found it. So I'm going to tap it and go ahead and have the detector connect to the app. Then once you're up and running, we've got a bunch of information here. This is kind of what we'll get into in just a second, but this is going to read all the settings that are loaded here on the detector. And these are all the settings that I've got programmed into the app that I could copy over to the detector. So you can see some of the options are different. So like the phone is set up to have quiet ride enabled, but the detector currently has it off because I'm going to be doing some testing stuff. If I wanted to, I could actually copy the settings between the app and the detector. So if I scroll all the way down, for example, I could say, hey, all the settings that I've got programmed here on my R8, I want you to copy them locally to the phone. So I'm going to tap that. And now all the settings here on the phone are going to match what's in the detector. Anyways, before we get into some of those details, let's go back and start here from the beginning. So we've got a couple different options here that are available. The connection manager is going to be kind of our connection stuff. I have found that the connectivity here can be kind of hit or miss. And so like that power cycle trick, sometimes you got to do, sometimes you got to restart the app or even restart the phone. So this is going to be kind of your connection stuff. The next one here is going to be the R8 internal settings. So those settings that we just took a look at, in case you want to change anything, like for example, let's say I want to change the color of the display. Right now it's a red display. If I want to change it to, let's say blue, for example, that'll be a quick and easy one just to kind of demo this feature. I'll go back here and I'm going to push settings to the R8, and now you can see the display changes to blue. I like red, so I'm just going to change it back to red here real quick. And then any of the other settings that you want to do regarding, changing the different modes that you want, or if you want to change any of the settings and filtering options and whatnot, all of this stuff is going to be configurable in the app, just like in the detector, which does make it easier a lot of times than going through the detector's menu itself. The operational settings here are going to be some additional features that are available in the app, kind of separate from the detector itself. So for example, you can see we've got a couple different options here. One thing to point out, you can see what highway radar is going to treat as your high threat signals, things like Ka band signals or laser, MRCD and whatnot. If we go into there, one cool kind of example option I can show you is the screen flasher option. If we do that, you can basically have it say, when I get any Ka alerts, I want you to kind of flash the screen. And if I just do a quick test here, you can see it's going to flash like that. So basically, if you want some additional stuff that the app can do in addition to the detector, that's what we're going to have here under the operational settings option. Now, maybe two of the coolest things that I find are going to be here the custom processing rules as well as the GPS lockouts. Now, starting off first with the custom processing rules, there's a good example of how you can use this feature over in the Highway Radar book, and they show you can basically build some additional rules to help improve the BSM filtering. And the idea is, you know how the R4 and the R8 have these K-block options to help knock out some of the BSM falses? Well, there's only two options, and what if you want to be able to filter out some additional frequencies that are not covered here, such as maybe your Mazda CX-5s, for example? Well, instead of relying on the MRCD trick, which gets kind of convoluted, then you have to enable some of the additional filtering options to deal with the additional MRCD falses. Well, basically, you can have the app create some additional rules and effectively create some additional K-blocks for you. And in the Highway Radar book, they give an example with 3 different frequency ranges that you can add in here to your detector, and then have the app mute the detector in case you encounter those alerts. And to demo that, I've just quickly built a rule here that follows those options. You can see I've got it set up so this rule only applies here to K-band radar, not the other ones. I've also set up the different frequency ranges. So we've got these 3 frequency ranges, again, just set up to match what they give in that example. The one change I've got for now is the signal strength option. I've got it set to apply also to full strength signals, not just weak signals. And the reason is just because I've got the radar gun here right next to the detector. It's going to be a really strong signal when I demo this here in a second. So I want to go ahead and just have this apply, not just to weak signals. And then the last thing for the signal visibility, this is basically just going to say what happens when I pick up a signal in this range. And I've got it set up currently to show the signal as inactive, but don't actually alert. So what does all that mean and what actually happens? Well, I'm going to go ahead and just disable this rule here real quick so you can see what it's going to be by default. So normally what would happen if we get a K-band alert, it'll show up here on screen like this. The detector's beeping and everything. If I wanted to, I could actually mute the signal just by tapping on screen like that, and you see it's going to mute. This tapping feature, by the way, on the current public version of Highway Radar, it's kind of inconsistent. I'm currently running one of the new betas that just came out, which does actually fix a bug with the muting to make it more consistent and reliable. Anyway, if we go back over here into our custom processing rules again, go back to this BSM filtering option that I built, and then re-enable it, watch what happens in this situation. You'll see the signal popped up, but then the app immediately muted this signal. And you can see it says right there, mute. And up here, the signal is now hidden. If we tap on that real quick, you can see that I can see the signal itself, plus it actually says BSM filtering, letting me know that this signal is being muted because of my rule here for the BSM filtering that I've built. And then if you want to, you can make this more advanced. You can do things like maybe say only apply not to just full strength signals, but to like weaker signals as well. So you could do that if you want. And then in the Highway Radar book, they also give some other examples of how you could use this feature. And then another thing to point out is the GPS lockout capability that's built in here in the app. Now, this is going to be primarily useful if you've got a detector like the V1 that you can pair with Highway Radar. And that detector doesn't have GPS, so you can't do any GPS lockout. So you're going to be reliant on the app to actually give you the GPS lockout capability. And as you can see, Highway Radar supports the V1 Gen 2 and some other detectors as well. And so you can use the GPS lockout capability here to actually help out your other detectors. And this is going to be particularly helpful because, as you guys know, Uniden's implementation of their GPS lockouts still needs to be worked on. And for whatever reason, Uniden hasn't fully fixed their GPS lockouts. And so something you could do is maybe two ways to approach this. One, you could just disable the GPS lockouts on the detector and then have the app take care of all the lockouts for you. Another option is you can actually run GPS lockouts on both of them at the same time. So you've got your R4 or your R8 doing its own thing with the auto lockouts. And then for whatever reason, if you run into those signals where the detector just chooses not to ever auto lock it out, well, then you can have the app also learning at the same time. And if it sees the detector is not locking out a signal that should be locked out, you can have the app actually tell the detector to mute itself. So basically you can have Highway Radar here kind of adding in improved GPS lockout capabilities for you in the background. And because you're running Highway Radar, you've also got all the other features that it offers. It's kind of like Waze, but on steroids. You've got the cloud-sourced alerts, red light camera and speed camera notifications, and even aircraft notifications as well. Now, firmware updates, that's not something that's available here with the app. I know there's some other detectors that do offer that. So like the V1 Gen 2, the Redenso DS1, the Escort Max Cam, for example, you can use apps to actually update those detectors from your phone. But with the Uniden detectors, that's not something that's available here through Highway Radar. Either way, though, now that Bluetooth has finally been activated, if you're running an Android, you can go ahead and grab Highway Radar, pair it to your R4 or your R8, and start adding in the additional capabilities here. If you guys need any help, if you have any questions, you can hop on over to the discussion area on RDF, and that's where we're all discussing this stuff as we're learning about this kind of stuff together. And so with that said, yeah, I'm glad the stuff is finally activated. It's finally available. Obviously, I wish there was more capability. I wish that the iPhone support was a thing, but that's what we got. And so here you go. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing great, and I'll see you in the next video.